When was that?
You guys ready?
Yep.
Okay, it's 1 o'clock on September 21st, the year 2022. Welcome everyone for the Princeton Public Commissioners meeting. We'll start out with the roll call. Kathy, you're good, thank you. Any approval or agenda additions or deletions? Anyone? No? I hear a motion to second. All in favor, say aye.
Right.
Motion passes.
We're doing both the regular and special. There's actually two minutes.
Yeah, number 3 is the approval of minutes.
You can do it together.
We'll do it together this time. So we're looking for a motion for the regular meeting of August 17th, 2022, and the special meeting that we had on September 8th of 2022. There any?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Number 4, public comment. Do we have any comments from anyone?
I have not received any.
Okay, and to the public, this is the opportunity to raise any questions or comments that you have. Feel free to connect the office or come here directly at the depot. We'll move on for certifications of accounts payable. Any questions on that, commissioners?
I have none.
Okay, I do not have any either.
I'll make a motion to certify the accounts payable.
We have a first and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Number 6, the reports, SIMPA reports. Any questions on that? Those are in your packet for your review.
Nope.
No questions on that, Jack?
Yeah,
And here a motion to approve.
approval of the SIMPA report, minutes and key metrics.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Financial reports from the same. Any questions? A lot of detail there.
Yeah.
No, I didn't see anything.
Yeah, I didn't have any question comments.
Okay,
Do you have any?
I don't. It looks very smooth.
Yeah.
I'll move approval of the financial reports, income statement, balance sheet, draft balance, and cash reserve.
Second.
I liked it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. C, EV, and ACH reports. You have a chance to look at that information, gentlemen?
Yeah, I did. I can't say I really studied it, but I did look at it. So looks all pretty much going along. It's pretty much what it has been.
Yeah, I think it's better.
Yeah, I did see.
Going in the
that.
right direction.
I did see that. I like that post that came out the other day. The social media post about the ACH.
Oh, yeah.
A little more eye catching than the previous ones I caught my eye right away. The big number. I don't know if that spurred anything because I don't know if it's really getting anywhere. Because it seems like there's only like 1 or 2 likes or I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know how you get that out there in this university. Pay to do
With the EV debt. Is that what you're doing? The ACH?
Yeah,
Yeah, the big post, it was pretty visible.
Yeah, I like the graphics and the.
So what is that?
I can, so Facebook gives you a lot of analytics to actually clicks on it, even if they don't like it, share it. I've got the data.
Yeah,
I can share some of that too.
yeah, I'm just curious if it's because you can market it just in the city limits too, if we wanted to do. If we wanted to spend any money doing that.
Yeah, I know you can target stuff, I just,
Yeah, you could,
item of resolution.
you can get really down to the street.
Can you?
Yeah, that's what I do, so,
Okay.
yeah, I market. You know, I can market on the street if I want, so.
Wow.
See that.
But I mean, I guess that would be something you'd have to spend a little, you have to spend, I mean, it's truly not much, it's only $2 to $10 or something. You could probably market this whole city for like $12.
Okay.
So it's,
I'm probably I'm a little pessimistic, paranoid. I don't know how you want to describe it. I can't get past our 2 years of drama. We're still in catch-up mode, I think, and I just don't think people see it's post from the PUC and they just want to blow it. You know, oh, what kind of garbage is that? Or, you know.
yeah,
And again, I may be being overreactive, but
yeah. You are. I mean, that's just the way the life is nowadays, you know, I mean, and I'm with you because, at first I was. Yeah.
We have pretty
No,
dramatic.
I know, but it's, well, somebody actually put it to me earlier this year. So it was always the same 4 or 5 people.
yeah,
And it's always the same 4 or 5 people on everything in the city.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can't set policy based on 4 or 5 people out of 5,000, you know, so. But anyhow, as far as the ACH, I like that. So
Yeah,
I don't know if that's something that we could do just to try to get a little bit more, but I mean, we gotta be coming towards the end of trying to get information out there on.
Right.
Other things.
but I think the extension of the program was a good move.
So I don't have anything else.
Okay, but this posting, when was that? I didn't notice or see it.
Was it yesterday?
Yeah, I thought it was yesterday.
Okay, hi, Michelle.
Hi, I was like,
No
Yeah.
problem. So, how often can you repost that before it looks like advertising?
Well, it looks like advertising.
But I mean, it's informational,
well,
Yeah.
so that's where I label it
Yeah.
as information, not advertising. But if
Yeah.
you did this too often, it could be construed that way.
I'm always cautious because we have so many different things we're trying to communicate with the public, and
Mhm.
I tend to not want to do more than 2 or 3 most per week. It has just been kind of my.
No, and that's fine, as long as, you know, I know that's
Yeah,
a good move.
yeah. So, I mean, we will fit it in, periodically. But like I said, yeah, I think your point is right on. You want to be careful not to do too much. Not only do you get flagged, but then people just block it out.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
You don't want to get.
You know, trying to wait noise.
Right. Well, and you can get to a point where if you see something too much, you can block things on Facebook, and you won't do that.
Right.
Then they don't get any of our messages.
Any other questions with ED or ACH?
No.
Motion, please.
I'll move to the whatever item.
Item C, ED and ACH.
Well, second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. We have no presentations today.
No, sir.
Number 8, updates, electric department. Mr. Linden.
Yes, since our last meeting, we participated in the Public Safety Day. According to the fire chief and police chief, they believe it was the best attended one in the last handful that they had had. So there was quite a few people there. A lot of kids, went really well. We had our bucket truck and our digger truck there. We were supposed to have the Connexus demonstration trailer there. Unfortunately, they canceled the day before. They had a staffing issue. One of the guys had a family emergency, so they had to back out. So we were able to round up the Simpa hazard hamlet, get that here. So that went well. We also, Russ, our underground contractor, is in town today. They got the cable into the Minco bank. So that is completed. The cabinet is in there. I got good news on the transformer yesterday. Our transformer supplier had a cancellation. So that transformer went from a delivery date, I think was it the end of March, first part of April, I think it was, to it'll be here in a month. So they had a cancellation, so they bumped us up and they said it'll be here by the end of October now. So that'll help that schedule out. So, and he is in town again tomorrow to do a piece of underground for us in Northfield Common. Clean up a spot up there and to do some work for us down where they're building that new house on the way down to the golf course. We had MMUA in here doing pole top and bucket rescue, a number of the fields now. We're recertified in pole top and bucket rescue. And we've also completed, we did meter reading in the last week. And then our whole day-to-day stuff. So those were the big topics for the month.
Can I add, Chair, for that event? I was out there for most of the time that day, and I just observed the, what do you call it? That where you show the lines down, but
The hazard tabletop, hazard inlet.
Travis was doing that. And I spent some time observing the people going through, and I can't say enough about how well he did it, presented it. When those kids walked out there with a light lit, there's no question about it. That was so well handled. The whole event is to the city commission is done very well. And Michelle had a really tough job handing out cookies. I told Don to give her a job she could handle it.
That's right.
I'm really impressed with the whole event. That we're involved. People would like to have that.
It's great. Any other questions for Jeremy? Okay, next, Mr. Schmidt.
Starting off the power plant here, unit 3 is back in service, test run. We'll continue to monitor that, water issue or the corrosion issue on that, the bolts on that thing. That's back in service, ready to go. We're continuing to work with Ziegler Cat on the unit 7 on the intercoolers. We're pulling more tests. I don't know, we're kind of in the limbo there waiting to get back the information back from Cat on that, but we have an issue going in there, so I think we have enough testing now done to approve it and waiting on what their direction they're gonna go. Also waiting on some parts, starters. That issue there, they had stuck at one point, so they were gonna replace them. They are back ordered, so we're waiting on parts for that, but it is operational, but we have issue coming up on there, so when we've been down that road before. So monthly runs actually ran some last week, ran yesterday with the Cat. 4, 5, and 6 are going to run next week for their monthly test run. We'll get that caught up there. And then on the water side, monthly sampling back keys. We had a curb stop repair on 2nd Street, a leaking curb stop. We had West Branch Construction in and got that taken care of. I'm working with John from WSB on the water comp plan, updating some question areas and some information on working on that project. We're at public safety day as well. Tower inspections, been up on checking the tops of the towers and screens and doors and make sure everything's good on them. So we're working away on them things. The service for the Midco Bank is in. And kind of the big one's been water meter changeovers.
Mhm.
It's going good. We're 37, a little over 37%. And we're putting them in as we speak, so, we've got the system refined pretty well. And, just we have a pretty good response from people. It's still gonna be a process, but we're going forward, I guess now at least, so we got all the parts are here and just a matter of getting in the houses to get them installed.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, Scott is being very modest. Him and Chrissy, and all the staff have created a very smooth process. This project is going through way better than it was, we got shut down because of COVID and then supply chain issues. But if you look at how the project was working in, late 19, early 2020 versus now, it's a little different. It's because Scott and Chrissy and everybody else have just been working together and having some fun with it. I know the office staff is kind of making it a challenge to fill up their schedules. And even though Scott's sitting here, they have 18 replacement schedules today. So it's a really good operation. It's because of Scott and Chrissy. I'm really proud of them. I mean, it's great to watch them.
How many total is it? 2,000?
Just over 1,800.
It's over 1,800, and we've got 690 some in. We're gonna say we're letting as we go, so
Yep.
we're gaining on it, but we've still got a long ways to go.
Yeah.
But
It's a good number, 37%.
it should. The end's going to be tough, I'm sure. But we're getting all the cooperative and the low, stuff we can get access to. We're getting them in and working with people, so it's going good. And everybody, when you go in there, we have no issues. The people that are responding, we're sending out the letters in groups. So we not sending out everybody at the same time. So we're spacing out the letters twice a week. We're sending out groups of letters to, so we don't overload the office on the phone coming in and stuff. And then for us to try to keep this, they're not scheduling out too far so they forget about it. So try to keep it within a week of call every time we can get them, or sometimes if they go under the next day, we can get them. So
How many years have these been going into the new construction?
was it 18, 19?
It was 19 when we started getting notes in, so since 2019.
Oh,
But it's been a very well managed program.
Is the installation and application pretty consistent, or is every install?
They're pretty similar. Most of them, we're just gonna change out the head on them. There's a bunch in town that we have to change out the whole brass part, but for the majority of them, it's just changing out the register part. It's an in and out pretty quick process. We don't have to shut nothing off on majority of there's some of them we have to shut the water off in the house there for a couple minutes. Change out the brass and then we're.
So 15 minutes, half hour?
Yes.
Okay.
So. Yeah, it was pretty quick, just getting access.
Sure. Anything else, Scott?
No, I took care of it.
Any questions for Scott? Thank you. City of Princeton update.
Okay, I have a bit of a list. I'm working on budget prep. We have scheduled a special meeting for public council next Tuesday, 5 p.m. In order to finish or to actually go through all the budget sheets and to approve the resolution setting the preliminary levy. I just needed more time because I'm making a ton of changes based on the audit recommendations and the new finance software, which is fantastic because I have like instantaneous data on the new system, but it's just so it's fun, but it's a lot of work and my head's exploding, but I go home and sleep and I'm fine. Let's see, we're hiring a second accountant. We have I think I mentioned the difficulty in finding a finance director. So we're kind of going to go a different route. We're going to hire a second accountant and then groom one of the two, although I think it's probably gonna be the new one, to kind of take on that role, kind of grow into the role of a finance director, so we'll see how that works. Our first accountant, our current accountant, is undergoing a bit of a change of venue, so to speak. She and her significant other are going to finally cohabitate, and she's moving north. And the council has authorized her to work remotely 3 days a week. So that's good, because I really wasn't looking forward to trying to hire a new accountant, especially since this one does all of our payroll and bill paying. So we're working with that, we're working through that. As noted in your packet today, Keith and I have been, and along with Public Works Director Gerald, have been talking about sharing the costs on the safety contract with MMUA. So I think that's going to be a great relationship. Historically, many moons ago, we used to do that, and then stuff happened, and now we're going to go back to that. So that's good. I just had word today. We have negotiated the sale of a couple of big parcels of property near the airport across from Silva to Silva, and they're interested in closing next week. So we're working towards that. We are in conversations with the developer to look at developing the old hangar lots on the east side of 21st Avenue. So we'll see where that takes us. Had a meeting with the architect, the contractor, the designers, Joe Glenn and Dan Patno yesterday afternoon on the Glenn Metalcraft project. That thing is heating up and ramping up. They want to get to the Planning Commission in November of this year to do their conditional use permit and their site plan, and so we'll parallel that with the replat. We have to move a road and do some other things. So I'm anticipating, or they're anticipating, spring construct. So I'm assuming that if we get through all of that stuff, November, December, they're probably going to need, I don't know, 12 weeks, 16 weeks. It's all precast, tip up panels. Building is 250 by 500, at least this initial phase. So that's a pretty big building. So I'm pretty excited about that. But now I have to ramp up the infrastructure design. So there'll be some conversations between us and the PUC and the city on getting that on the docket too. And we're looking for a 10-inch service.
10-inch?
Again,
A 10-inch water service. So
That's not just the bathroom.
anyway, so that's exciting. The County Road 4 7th Avenue project, the county board on the 13th approved agreement number 1, which is approving the costs for the feasibility study. So the county's picking up about 2/3 of that cost. That is on the agenda for this Thursday for the county board, or the city council, excuse me, to approve the agreement and authorize the scope of services for the feasibility study. So once that approval happens, what WSB will get cranking on surveys and topography and inventories and whatever the heck else they're doing with that scope of services. It's a pretty detailed feasibility study. The Fountain Place plat, which is that way over by the pond, that is hitting the Planning Commission next month. So by the end of the year, that'll be probably approved, and I assume that they'll start construction next spring. We've got a couple airport projects. We're waiting on word from Design Electric to see if they're going to be able to replace the beacon structure this fall or if they run into supply chain issues. So if they've run into supply chain issues, we have to hope that the winter weather is not hard on the baling wire and Band-Aids that's holding the beacon together. Bob's guys do a really good job of making sure that thing works, but parts are non-existent, and so they've had to sort of MacGyver it together. So, and then we're starting to do some environmental and cultural studies out there. We're doing a targeted layout plan study because we're looking at relocating the automated weather observation system that's out there in order to allow for more better developments on the north end of the airport in the long range future, and also reduce the impact of that to the rest of the business park developments. We hired and filled the vacancy in the police department. We were short an officer, so we hired a gentleman by the name of Drew Sharber. And when we interviewed him, he hadn't even passed his police licensure test yet. So he's like super green. Princeton graduate, pretty excited to be working here. So
Played ninth grade baseball.
huh?
Played ninth grade.
Baseball. Yeah. Jules and I were both part of the
So, we see the pull over first.
Jules and I were both part of the interview panel, so I think so far it's working out well. He just started last Wednesday. He passed his test the Friday before, and 3 days later he's on the street in Princeton. So it's pretty exciting. We also hired and filled our vacancy community development manager position. We hired Stacy Marquardt. She's came to us after working 17 years for Wright County in planning and zoning. And so she started last Monday on 12th. So she's getting her feet wet. She's taking on some of my projects related to land and development and things like that. So you'll see her around. And then last but not least, the Princeton Wine and Spirits and the Malacca Liquor Store are sponsoring a wine whiskey tasting event next Thursday. If you want tickets, go see Dylan. It's $20 if you buy ahead of time, $25 at the door. So there'll be light hors d'oeuvres, and there's all kinds of products to taste. Appetizers, yep. So
Where do they do that?
we're doing it at Northern Lights at the ballroom. So
5 to 8, something like that.
something like that.
5 to 8.
So I got my tickets.
I got mine. I love those meetings.
Yes.
No.
Well, and actually we are gonna post it because I have Jules, Counselor Gerald, and Mayor Walker are gonna be in attendance. But anyway, tickets are available. Go see Dylan at the first. So if you want to go.
There you go.
So did I cover
The
everything?
last thing is the only thing I have other than is the park board meets this coming Monday. And they'll be going over all of the rental fees and park fees. And make some recommendations to the city. That would include like the Civic Center, Mart Park, and Splash Park. What the fees will be, recommended fees.
I go back to Stacy first. I haven't had the opportunity to meet her yet, but we had our historical society meeting this morning, and Barry, he's already been in contact with her for usage of this facility for something Christmas event or something. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, it's part of the probably part of the Small Business Saturday prelude to the Holidazzle, mini Holidazzle, light up Princeton. Usually that Saturday, they usually have a visit with Santa, and then the parade, and then they turn the lights on at the park. So
I'll just encourage it. No one in the audience reaching out, going to Dr. Death full of stuff.
oh, trust me, she's on your list of laundry list of miscellaneous projects and whatnot.
She must be following up on something. She's already talked with Eric.
Yep, yeah, she's very, very good. She's drafted, we have a moratorium on the sale of THC products. And, she and I and Todd met on Monday, and we had some ordinances from other cities, and so she's already put together a draft ordinance that the council will talk about at the study session in October, so. Yeah,
Is that something that the city would take over, like the liquor too, do you think?
no, I don't think that the council's interested in that. So there's a lot of regulatory and testing and other things to monitor. And we have Todd's been talking the issue over with the operator, manager of the tobacco shop. She's very knowledgeable. So, I mean, not that we would give them exclusive sale rights, but I'm not sure the council wants to take on that responsibility. So, I mean, I haven't read the room entirely, but I know when in talking with the mayor, he's not interested. So, but I don't know how the other councilors feel.
Yeah.
No.
There's another one.
Well, I just figured it would maybe be like a municipal tax revenue. Or
Actually,
something again,
Actually, it's specifically prohibited in statute. Yeah, exclusive liquor stores are not allowed to actually, that's the one thing that the legislature actually wrote into the statute is that.
Oh, we get our tax money from the city. I do have a question though. What metric do you use to determine how many officers to hire for the city?
That's a Todd question. So we've always had 12. And so that's kind of the number. They have 12 patrol officers and and then there's an investigator, and then there's the sergeant, and then there's the chief. So,
So 15.
yeah, 12, 15 plus 2 support staff. So.
Is your event on the 29th? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, yep, the wine and whiskey tasting is the 29th.
And it's what time again?
5 to 8 p.m.
Okay. Any other questions for the city reps here?
Actually, Jeremy, can you tell me what's the lead time on transformers right now? Is it still?
I haven't checked since I ordered that, but anywhere between 30 to 40, 50 weeks, depending on what size it is and where they're at now.
The only reason I mentioned is, Jeremy kind of mentioned with Winco, but they were actually having to plan to not open their bank for another month because we couldn't get it.
Yesterday morning, that building was, we were out there talking and that building is moving along so fast. The original lead time, that building was going to sit empty for at least unpowered for waiting on that transformer for a month. Unless we, I hadn't checked to see if we had a spare that we could set there temporarily until that transformer come in there. So
he really scrounged for one. And so for all these projects coming up, the sooner they can pay a deposit on that so we can get it ordered, the better for them.
yeah, and we told
And I know you know this, we talked about.
Yeah,
and
well, I know that
we met with his name, excuse me now, the guy from Gwen's.
Dan.
No, not that.
No,
Mike Bauer.
no, the one who was is an elected official for Sugar County.
Tim Dolan.
Tim Dolan.
He's the real estate agent.
That's
Yeah, when he met, we expressed, was he designing it or?
Well, I have a big email string, so when I get back to the office, I'll just send a note out because I know they wanted to talk to you about your policy about domestic water, how they could tap, bring that 10-inch line in, and then if they can split it in the building, and I don't know how that I'm not the water patrol. So maybe what I'll do is I will, send them an email saying, we're hearing lead times on transformers depending upon the sizes. This is very long. You know, please, here's the number of the PUC. Please reach out to them on the transformer and the water questions from yesterday's meeting. And then I'm out of it, and then they know, and who knows what information got shifted from the real estate agent to the design people.
Yeah.
And the contractor, because the contractor was on the line yesterday as well, so. The actual construction company rep, not just the architects, so we had a ton of people on the call.
So just, yeah, it's just it's good for everybody to be aware that we're still running in the supply chain issue.
Yeah.
So
Nice
many
to-
different things.
Nice to reiterate that, so you're not saying, well, no, one told me that.
Yeah.
It doesn't get transferred to the right decision makers.
Any questions for Michelle or Bruce? Thank you. Mr. Butcher, I'm not gonna forget about you this time. You're up.
I am working on trying to launch the renewable energy credit program. Taking a little bit of time with it simply because I've been in conversations with Owatonna Public Utilities to try to basically co-brand a project that could then be launched across the entire SIPA membership. The benefits with doing something like that is, we're kind of all sending out the same message, but when you look at solar developers, they don't just work in any one utility service territory, they work in multiple. So the more we can kind of have a consistent framework and messaging, I think has a lot of value. We have everything internally ready to go, but part of it is just working with Owatonna's marketing staff, come up with kind of a good name for everyone, and then we can start communicating that. In addition, when OPU initially started their program up, they did sign a PPA with SIPA to lock in the rec price, which I think would probably be good for us to do as well. I need to talk to SIPA about that, so I may be coming in the next month or two with an agreement between SIPA and us, just to get everything of that formalized and in place. Not a big deal, but I think it is probably just a good thing to have in hand. We are getting ready to launch the Be Bright campaign for this year. That's a program that SIPA runs for us, in which people can get a discount on LEDs at the counter when they purchase equipment. I know Coburn's is a participating retailer this year. With some of the pricing, people should be able to get LEDs at $0.25 a piece through that campaign as long as supplies last. So we're getting ready to ramp that up and got some material in that coming out. I think everybody got a copy of the connector that's been printed. Will be going out, so there's information in there on the Be Bright campaign as well as some of our other programs and different things we're working on. We did issue most recent rebates to Riverside Plaza, Fairview Northland, Kaylee House, and the food shelf. Jeremy already talked about Public Safety Day. That was a really good event that went out. We do have Public Power Week coming up the week of October 3rd through the 9th. We'll be able to just do tours, and we'll have treats available at the lobby for folks to stop by. And then, like we did in past years, we'll do a drawing for a gift basket. Simple put together for us. Looking at scheduling, we're doing some more big check pictures for October 4th. Mr. Chair, if you're available, it'd be great to have you there.
I believe I am.
Yeah. So we've got a few more customers that participate in programs and just want to promote what's available to the folks. Just to get my other notes. Yeah, that's all the highlights.
Any questions for
What was October 4th? I didn't quite.
We do these pictures of big checks where people get a rebate. So the chair has been attending that, so we can put a face to the commission. It's been I think it's just good and good way to show what we've given to the community, but also let people know that there is money available if they do lighting upgrades or.
Well, that's a good cause for people.
Yeah.
What does a rebate run on like a upgrade for air conditioning? Just,
I don't remember off the top of my head. It's a couple $100 for a residential. Commercial can get a lot more because there's some big chiller units out there, and so you know the rebates are per ton.
But I just went through the invoices and there was one for 200 and another one for 250.
Yeah,
So
and we have it set up as a progressive scale. So, you know, we have our minimum. I think it's a 14.5 SEER. But for every half SEER improvement, you get a little bit higher rebate. So it's our way of encouraging people to be as aggressive as possible on the energy efficiency side. So it's not just everybody gets one. It's really a function of how good the system is.
and that's really gonna help or the AC units and load shading and stuff like that in the summertime.
That's huge benefits for us. Yes.
Yeah, so overall, we're getting a return of those rebates.
Mhm. Mhm.
keep what time on October 4th.
It'll be in the morning.
Okay.
I'll forward you on
All right.
more details.
One more question on those rebates. So those rebates, does that money come 100% from the PUC or some of the?
We get reimbursed by some.
So it's 100% from Simply?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so it's no cost to the ratepayers.
Not directly. I mean, you know, like everything else, you're gonna pay for it one way or the other.
Yeah.
It's in the rates,
Okay.
but
Yep.
yes, there is no.
Whether it doesn't affect. If a bunch of people take advantage of it, if our customers take advantage of it.
Doesn't
it's
cost
not
us
gonna
anything.
Raise our rates, right? Okay.
No, if everybody in Princeton participates and nobody in North Branch participates, well, that's just the way it is. So all the money comes to Princeton.
Yeah.
And that's all right. Yeah, so SIPA reimburses us for all of that. You know, there is a little bit of difference in some of the low income stuff where there is some of out of pocket we have there, but you know, yes, for all the residential, for everything that we're talking about here, that is, we are reimbursed.
Is there a time frame that the customer has to apply for that from date of purchase to?
Generally, what I tell folks is we can handle anything within the last 12 months.
Okay.
If it gets beyond that, then no.
Yeah. Okay.
And the only other caveat to that is if somebody buys something, say this October, and then applies next October, I'm going to give them 2023 rebate amounts, not the rebates that were in place when they purchased it. I got to keep it within the program year.
Sure.
That way.
So that makes sense.
If the rebates go down,
Right.
nothing.
All right. If there's no other questions, we'll move on to old business, which I don't think there is any. And we'll jump into new business.
Yeah, the first one is regarding County State Aid Highway 4 7th Avenue project. Michelle's already given some update on that. It is a project that has been discussed ever since I started back in 2019. So it's been on the radar for quite a while. For us, what the project means is because they're looking at a complete reconstruct. And since they're doing that, it's a good time to also look at all the utilities, sewer, water, and then even electric if needed. WSB has been kind of the main contractor on that. The last kind of, I would quote might be too strong of a word, but it's kind of an estimate for impacts for that project. Looks like it's probably going to affect, they assumed 40 services along that stretch with a cost estimate from, and this was July of 2021, of $462,700 to replace that water main. So just to kind of put this in context for the commission. It is something where it really is a joint effort between the county in charge of the road, the city with stormwater and sewer, and us with water. In addition, we are already under phase one on the electric side, planning on reconductoring the tie from the north substation to the power plant, which comes right down that road. That cost, which is part of phase one, is $450,000. That doesn't include engineering contingencies. That's just for the reconductoring work. So it's a significant project. That's what I'm trying to say, but I also wanted to start getting the commission familiar with, we're talking about $500,000 for each utility as part of in terms of what infrastructure we're looking at there. Michelle has been doing a lot of great work in working with the county and getting them to agree to a collaborative agreement to start with the scoping and some of the preliminary analysis that needs to be done. That is really a two-party agreement between the city and the county. Obviously, we will be playing a role, and we thought that it would be good for the Utilities Commission to just do a motion just saying that, yes, we are committed to working cooperatively with the city of Princeton as they seek to utilize all available funding sources to use towards the successful completion of the planned County State Aid Highway 4 7th Avenue reconstruction effort. I think that gives you a lot of what you're looking for.
Yeah, just so the commission knows, we do have a small cities development grant application out there, which is to the tune of about $600,000. They're supposed to be making award notices sometime this month, probably early next month. So,
and the commission had done a letter of support for that.
Correct. So you've done a letter of support for that. So I just want to. So obviously, we're hoping to bring more money to the table. Our piece would be, we have ARPA funds, American Rescue Plan Act funds, that will cover most of the sewer. So anything over and above that, we would then contribute those dollars. Those dollars were specifically applied for this project. So hopefully we can get that money as well, and that will come to the table. So, and the county will cover the road costs through county state funds. So.
Excellent.
So initially, the commission did a motion to approve a letter of support for that grant.
Well, that's my question. Do you want a letter instead of just a?
I'm thinking, well, no, I'm thinking just a generic motion saying, yes, we approve that project. So then as Michelle and I identify opportunities, I can just go ahead and.
Yeah, actually, I'm not even looking for you to approve it, just that you're continuing to support our efforts at this point, because I don't want you to say you've approved the project without seeing the final numbers. So I don't want to put you into a financial commitment yet. It's no different than when we put together the second agreement with Mille Lacs County, where we have all the detailed numbers. Those numbers aren't going to come until the feasibility study is done, and that's probably going to take this fall and a good chunk of the early winter to get all that stuff done. So I'm just looking for just a motion that says you're continuing to support our efforts moving this project forward.
Sure.
I'll make a motion that we continue support for the 7th Avenue project.
We have a motion and a second. First and a second. Any further discussion on that? I have a question. Is that now, and I brought this up at our special meeting, is the storm sewer, not storm sewer, the drain, going to be addressed?
Yes.
It is.
Yep, that's a big chunk of the part of the feasibility study and scope, because so the scope includes the street design, the infrastructure analysis, because our sewer pipe is at capacity, so we can't really support any development upstream. So we need to figure out how we can increase capacity, because that also has impacts downstream, because the lift station is currently undersized. So we're going to have some future costs probably downstream of this project. And then stormwater analysis, we have identified some potential sites to move stormwater away from this road and to some city-owned property to the east. So how we get it there, and is it a urban section, is it a rural section, you know, curb and gutter, no curb and gutter. We're looking at the ends of the street termination. We'd like to try to, where it meets Rum River Drive, try to figure out how we can make that a little more driver friendly, because it comes in at a really odd angle. So there's that analysis that's gonna happen. And then, yeah, so stormwater is a big piece of that, so.
It's been a problem for forever.
Yes, the solution that was implemented is not sufficient, so.
I can see you will say not much.
I'm still,
Okay.
I still live here.
If there's no further questions, we have a first and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passed.
Thank you.
Delinquent bills.
Yes, so this is part of an annual activity portion, where we've had a couple of accounts in which we have not been able to collect on. We pursue our usual efforts, but at a certain point, one of the last things we can do is put it on as a property tax assessment. So there's a memo in your packets 22-20, kind of goes through the policy and the statute that allows utilities, municipal utilities, to do this, along with a table explaining the for this year it's only 4 accounts, which is nice, less than last year. We did have more, but we were able to get some of those addressed with the notifications that were sent out. The process is for the commission to approve that list, that they get sent on to the city council for their approval, and if they approve it, then it gets submitted to the county for addition to the property tax assessments for next year. And then when the county collects that, they send that back to the city, and then the city sends that back to us. A few steps along the way. So staff is recommending approval of the list in the memo for submission for assessments for collection to property tax assessments.
I have a question on 1, 2, and 3 are somewhat in the range of each other, and 4 really kind of jumps off the page. How did it get that high? We know special conditions or special understanding or lack of understanding.
My understanding, he just has not paid them.
Yeah, and there's a bit of I think there's a bit of a, it's been there a little bit, it's been for a while, that's been built up. I mean, you know, we have service turned off there, correct?
I believe so.
Yeah, so we've turned off the service, but the monthly fixed charge is still accrued because they're part of the system. And so, you know, even if he's been shut off for a year, you're still looking at a year of fixed charges that just add up. We put all of the plus, you know, the late fees and things like that, which we put in. So I think some of it just tends to be a timing. I mean, obviously some of these assessments might only be a few months old, but others might be several months old. And so you'll see some variations.
Is this property abandoned or somebody's living there without electricity and water?
There's nobody there.
Yeah, as far as we know, but it still is listed with the account holder as.
Okay. Any questions?
No.
I'd like to hear a motion to proceed with the recommendations.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passed. C, land recycling program.
Yes, sir. So Prince of Public Utilities has been running a land recycling program for many, many years. A big impetus for it was that under the SIP legislation, utilities were required to have a recycling program, mostly to address what was a growing usage of compact light bulbs, which contain mercury. It's not good for the environment. So trying to encourage ways for customers to use that energy efficient technology, but properly dispose of that equipment. Under the Eagle legislation that was passed in 2021, the language in that law was changed from shall to may, which means that we're no longer required to have a collection system or recycling program. We currently have a program that's available to all customers, which is residential and businesses. And we have been spending, the last couple of years, we've been averaging just over $2,000 a year in expense on that program. And so since that time, obviously, recycling efforts have increased, education has increased, more people are doing it, more abilities for folks to get involved and properly dispose of stuff on their own. It can be a little bit problematic for us to administer, mostly because just in enforcement. We do try to limit it to our customers, but sometimes how do you really know? Especially when customers, particularly on the business side, might have multiple facilities, one in Princeton, one outside of Princeton. Well, if they bring all their stuff here, who am I to say, no, that came from this building or that building? It's hard for us to know. The memo kind of goes through some of this background and does have a recommendation to discontinue the program. I would like to modify that recommendation. Staff has been talking this week. There is some value seen by staff who works with our customers for those individual renters, for retired folks who might not know what to do with it. They've got 1 bulb, 5 bulbs, whatever. We don't want them to turn around and dispose of that through in their garbage. It would be a good service for the community to try to promote it. On the residential side, on the business side, businesses have a lot of capability to handle their own space nowadays. They understand more on what's recycling, and electrical contractors also often offer that, provide that as a service for when they do relaying efforts and things like that. So rather than discontinuing the program, what staff is recommending is we simply modify the program participants and limit it to only our residential customers. We provide that service and help them out, but limit the cost that we're experiencing by letting businesses take care of their own projects.
Does this include the ballast at all?
We have included ballast. I think if I remember correctly, it's supposed to be non-PCB ballast, correct?
I believe so.
Yeah, so we don't take the really bad stuff, but with the recycler that we use, they do accept ballast. And it is not just for disposable light bulbs, but LEDs should also be, like any electronics, should be trapped. So this is a program, or recycling is just something, is an effort that's going to continue through different lighting technologies. So I don't see the issue going away.
Which ballast do you not take?
We don't take PCB ballast.
PCB?
Yeah, they have to be a non-PCB ballast.
So what do people do with that?
That they have to pay, they should go to, a disposal location and pay for it. They're just more expensive to recycle. Because they are so much more, they're nastier. I don't know what the proper word is.
Well, we probably aren't very many.
No, they were discontinued a long time ago.
County has the same issue. When I worked for Knox County, we did the same somewhat issue for the residential household hazardous waste days. We would get the occasional business that would provide, but there are other alternatives besides the PUC's program. Knox County does a couple of collection days and connecting with them on Facebook when they do their collections in late May, early June, to share that information with folks will also kind of help. And
which we did that this year as well, because it also helps us with our wildlife protection plan. Keep
yeah.
that stuff out of the road.
But the counties get SCORE funds, and the intent of that is to assist residential customers. There is an implied requirement in the statute that businesses are expected to plan for and budget for proper disposal of whether it's paints, solvents, fluorescent light bulbs, et cetera.
Is it, so is that, I would imagine Sherwood County has the same
Mhm.
type of thing for our customers that are.
Yep.
in Sherwood County, so correct.
Yeah.
And then, so that was my next question, like how much of this stuff is discontinued? That would be recycled, I mean, is it like, you know, is it gonna affect, say, new customers building, say, Glen Metal Craft building here and they want to recycle it? Are they gonna use a lot of things that are, would have to be recycled or the new?
Oh, yeah,
products?
they could.
So it's not completely phased out, like stuff that you can't just throw in the garbage. or-
Well, yeah, none of those electronics should
No,
be thrown in there. So yeah, all that should be used.
Okay, that was my question.
But as Michelle pointed out, businesses are required to manage that waste stream
Yeah.
themselves.
So if that's in the statute, you might want to keep that pretty close. You know, or make that part of the mailing of the new adjustments if there's one made yet today.
Okay,
You know, if it's in it, it's not just us trying to be difficult to work with. If it's in the statute, then it's in the statute.
Or alternative.
Well, it's like what
Yeah.
you're saying, you know, listing this and this, and if it's, you know, you're responsible here.
Here's where you else you could go.
yeah, I was definitely thinking, yeah, we want to make sure we share resources.
Right. Yeah.
And for businesses, they should really work with their existing contractors.
Yeah, we definitely don't want, well, let's just throw them.
Correct.
Hide it in the dumpster or something, you know,
Correct.
yeah.
But, you know, I had run into years ago, but, you know, I would run into problems with other utilities where a contractor would come in and do a relamping effort, charge the customer, you know, couple $1,000 to recycle, and then they turn around and just drop them off the utility for free. So, you know, you want to be careful with things like that. I have full confidence that you know, business owners can take care of their own needs.
Sure.
And I think helping out, you know, the individual homeowner, renter that are dealing with so many other things to think about in life, that if they can just know that they can drop it off here and have it disposed of properly, I think it's just good.
Do you have any projections on what that new cost number might go down to?
I don't, but it's gonna be a fraction. It's just, our costs right now are driven by some of the larger commercial businesses that are just dropping off pallets of light bulbs.
What would you like to do with the commission?
Well, I'll make a recommend a motion that we follow the staff recommendation. Discontinuing that recycle program.
To
Is that-
residential only?
To, yeah,
So redefine the program to limit the program to residential customers.
correct. I'll restate that if you want. You got that, Ken?
Yeah.
Bills?
Hey, Mr. Chair, I finally got an answer on some of the bulbs at the ballpark. You know, and there was like maybe half a dozen of them out there, and we were trying to figure out what to do with them. Thought they could be used, and they cannot be used anymore with the current, whatever we have up there. So would that be allowed yet to bring them, to have them recycled or not?
The
They're
proposal,
just big bulbs.
the proposal in the memo is to discontinue the program, or to redefine the program effective January 1st.
Okay, so we'd be okay.
Yeah, so it would give us time
Okay.
to notify customers that, hey, this change is coming.
Okay, all right.
So yes, we still have a window.
Otherwise, you had about 12 seconds.
Hey, you know what I'm talking about.
Nice.
Jeremy, you know what I'm, yeah.
Break.
You know, we move a little slow sometimes. I finally got an answer on this too. You know, I didn't know what to do with them. That we could use them, we can't use them, but they're old. Anyway, okay, that answers my
Yeah,
question.
if we pass this, you have 90 days plus.
I'm okay. I'll probably take 90 days. I'll be there. The
But
last
it's
day.
midnight on December 31st.
Their house-
Lock it door.
Very deep where you go.
We, procrastination is best.
We have
Okay, thank you.
make a
Thank you.
second on that. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye, motion pass.
I have one question that's, I can
Sure.
share that. You brought up about the wellhead protection.
Yeah.
So this, if someone has old containers of chemicals that have been sitting around for 40, 50 years, is there a program?
Oh, there, the,
Was that something that would go through the count, whichever county it was in?
yeah, I guess the county would be the best. This guy.
Depends on if it's a business or if it's a,
It's a business. I had somebody actually ask me that the other day that if we had a program through a wellhead.
I think I know who it is because they contacted me a couple years ago asking.
I'm like, I don't think you go to the county.
Yeah,
yeah, they are, if it's a business, they are gonna have to, they're gonna end up having to pay for it.
To go through the county.
Well, regardless, they're gonna, you know, they can make arrangements. I don't know if this person is in Mille Lacs or Sherburne, I don't care to know. But if they contact Stearns County, that's who handles the Mille Lacs County's waste, hazardous waste. They have a place in White Park that ends up taking it, so I would reach out to their staff out there to find out what their disposal fees are.
I think the problem is they don't know what it is, if it is a chemical or not. I think that's, I don't know where it is.
Well, essentially the Wait Park folks, they basically open all the containers and they have a way to check things.
Sure, test it.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, item D. Fee schedule revision.
yes, sir. In the fee schedule that we're currently operating under, there is a listing of costs for different sized water meters. These prices that are on there are the only equipment-based fees that we have on the schedule remaining. And unfortunately, those fees were set at the end of last year, and as I've mentioned, the supply chain issues and inflation and everything else, prices have gotten pretty wild. It's kind of put us underwater a little bit on some of those meter sizing. It's the only equipment one that we have on the fee schedule. The other stuff, like when it comes to transformers and things like that, we just do at whatever the purchase costs are, is how we determine what we pay. And rather than just continuing to leave a price out there that we know is covering our costs, the proposal is to just eliminate the water metering fees off of there, and we will just do a subject to cost on those for any new equipment sales that
Current market rate.
yeah, exactly. So we would like to just remove those items from the fee schedule and treat that like we do all of our other equipment sales.
That makes total sense to me. Otherwise, you're making a commitment that you don't know where it's going.
In the past, it was no big deal because prices didn't change.
Steady, yeah.
But in today's world, it's untenable.
I'll make a motion that we make that a schedule revision for the fees.
To just eliminate the water meter section
Yeah,
completely.
in the packets, I did put in what the current fee schedule is and what the proposed is, if you just accept the new proposed 2022 fee schedule.
Make a motion that we accept the new proposed 2022 fee schedule. Then my motion.
I'll second it. All those in favor say aye. Motion passed. E, rate study.
Yes, sir. In your package, memo 22-23, and I do have a typo in the summary. I meant to say throughout 2022, not 2023. As the commission knows, we've been working a lot on electric rate study. We are, in addition to just looking at what the rates are, we are looking at changing the structure of our rates to better reflect the wholesale market. Unfortunately, SIMBA is looking at a rate increase. I anticipate, although the board has not voted on it, the board will vote on that at the SIMBA annual meeting on October 14th. I anticipate that the board will approve a 10% rate increase from SIMBA, which will then obviously impact our finances. However, as part of the rate study, like I mentioned, we are looking at making some structural changes. It would be beneficial for staff if the commission could at least approve the structure, the concepts of what we're doing, because it is a significant enough change where it will require us to change some of the things in our billing software, redesign some of our internal tracking reports as well. So I won't have the actual rate numbers until after the board has made a decision as to what direction they want to go next month. However, in the meantime, and there are details in the memo, a lot of which is centered around adding a seasonality to our rate structure. Basically, lowering the energy rate in the winter and raising the energy rate in the summer to better reflect what's going on in the wholesale market. There are additional ones. I'm happy to read through all of these if the commission wishes. It's in the memo. But what I'm recommending is that the commission approve the structure today. We can get started on implementing everything so we can hit the ground running in January. But wait on approving the actual rate amounts until after the SIMBA board has determined what rate increase they're going to implement and how much.
So if I could reword it just a little bit different.
Yes.
Really agree to use the methodology that's been used to get us to this point. You know, we're not approving a dollar amount, but it allows Blair and yourself to move forward without getting a hard number.
It allows the office staff and myself to move forward on the implementation.
Right.
To say that, yes, we will have a summer rate and a winter rate. We will be, adding in another rate class,
Right.
The IPS. So we
25 to 20.
So we have to get that programmed in.
Yeah.
And then in addition, this came up after I didn't have time to put it in the memo. There are very strong indications that the SIMBA board is looking at implementing an energy cost adjustment starting next year to be able to pass through the volatility that they're seeing. Staff's recommendation is if SIMBA does that we should then pass that through as well. In addition to the memo, I would like to recommend that there be an addition that the staff work on implementing an ECA if and when ever does.
So the ECA becomes a plus or minus program.
Correct. In a perfect world, what happens is, if we predict the future accurately for next year, we have our assumption for what the wholesale prices are going to be. If you do that perfectly, your ECA net at the end of the year is 0. You'll have some months that are positive, some that are negative. If you are too conservative, then it's cash back. And if you just didn't anticipate a few things and it went kind of south on you, then it's going to be, could be considered. But it's for those unpredictable variations. Yeah. The alternative is if you don't have an ECA, it requires utilities to have much higher cash reserves because we have to weather that storm. So then all of a sudden you have a bunch of money that isn't being used. It might be much better to have that in the local economy. Those are the arguments for it. Mm-hmm. But it does pass on that volatility to the customer which means their bills can fluctuate, you know, a little bit more each month. Now, most DCAs are in mils, which is tenths of a cent. So for most customers, you see that kind of variation just from weather. You know, you get a hot month and your consumption, your bill goes up. So it ends up not, it's not a huge amount, but it is in there.
So I want to make sure that the commission understands what was just said. Basically, it's approving again or continuing to move forward in the format and everything that we've talked about without agreeing to, you know, what an adjustment might or may not be.
Correct.
Okay, so any further discussion on that? It's a big deal, you know, but it allows, if we take that type of action, we continue to move forward.
So as an example, the structure is to do a seasonality rate with a summer rate and a winter rate. Now, whether that difference is a tenth of a cent or 10 cents, you know, that's what has not been determined, but we are going in the direction of having a different rate. So we can set up a structure and then just put in whatever number
Right.
we ultimately decide.
So that's really the nuts of this whole conversation.
Correct.
Any further questions?
No.
You basically want to get your administrative process in order so that when your action is ready to go, whichever it might be ready to go.
Then I can just pull the trigger, put in whatever number the commission agrees to, and we're off.
With the addition of the ECA
Correct.
component. That's not a new number.
Correct.
And that would be part of the whole process.
Correct.
Which is way above our head, or my head.
And we're able to adjust that going forward too. If
Absolutely.
So we're not being locked into
Right.
anything, given you the okay to keep going forward.
Yeah, I just didn't want to spend 3 months of staff time putting something in place and then have the commission go around and say, no.
Oh, I concur. I'm in agreement with that. What did you want that?
If you just want to approve the staff recommendation memo 22-23 with the addition of an ECA.
So
There isn't any more discussion. I certainly agree with that. And all those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passed. Could you continue your work?
Thank you.
F, MMUA Safety Meeting Program.
Yes, sir. This is an annual renewal for our safety trainings that we contract through with MMUA. Michelle mentioned a little bit of that in the city staff report. Years ago, the city and utility worked together and just had one contract. That ended up getting split to where the city had a contract and the utility had a contract. And since that time too, the new renewal program for MMUA has a cost increase of 18%. What that means is for this year, the contract that utility has with MMUA is for about $12,000. The contract that the city has with MMUA is for about $12,000. So as a community, we're paying $24,000. That price increase is going to go up to be over $14,000, which means that combined, it's a $28,000 cost. If we combine forces and do one contract, it is just one $14,000 project, which we would then split 50-50. So the city's cost would be $7,000 and the utility cost would be $7,000. Michelle and Public Works Director and I have been kind of talking through, and we're all in agreement that this makes sense. I've had conversations with MMUA telling them what our intentions were, and they are perfectly fine with that because that's what a lot of their other members already do. So this is nothing unique. The proposal, the recommendation in front of you is to renew the MMUA safety program at the tier 2 level, which is the level of service that we have been receiving all this time, and do that as a joint effort with the city, which will provide us with some significant costs.
And that's a great example on how the city and the utility work together it's a positive. I mean, just keep moving forward by working together and get more done. So thanks to everyone.
Moving forward, strides, great strides, I think.
Yeah.
This is probably a super good example because it really get your arm around it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, maybe I should do ask this question, but do we have about equal number of staff on each side that participates in this, or? I don't want to.
You know,
That'd be close.
it probably is. I mean,
It shouldn't matter, I just.
no, but I mean, if. Yeah, probably. The city might have a few more if you count the liquor store employees. You know, for the huh?
I don't know, maybe,
But I mean, for the mandatory stuff like the bloodborne pathogen, you know, the OSHA stuff,
Right.
the city might. But I mean, for field staff and that kind of stuff, you know, for some of the technical field type stuff, we're right there. You know, yeah.
I was just curious, like, I didn't want to make it or.
No, because the way MMUA does it, it's based on the city's population.
Yeah.
It's not an employee. That's why our cost is exactly the same as the city's cost. It's based on the population of the city,
Sure.
not by employee number. So,
You need a motion on that to accept number
Yes.
2 or
Yes, I do need a motion to renew the program.
Now, could we do the MMUA, what's called safety management program?
and specifically that's tier 2.
Yes.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Pass. Any other discussion on anything? If not, may I hear a motion to adjourn?
Ooh,
Sir, all those in favor say aye. That's about an hour earlier than normal.